Hello again. In the second part of my presentation, I will analyze Australia's cost of living crisis from 2021 to 2025. This issue provides an opportunity to apply key macroeconomic concepts including GDP growth, inflation, unemployment, inequality, and the fiscal and monetary policy responses used to manage them. Following the COVID-19 pandemic, Australia faced several simultaneous challenges. While demand rebounded due to government stimulus and accumulated savings, supply chains were disrupted globally, and domestic energy and housing markets became severely constrained. These factors pushed prices sharply higher, creating the worst inflation in more than 3 decades and imposing significant financial pressure on households, particularly renters and low-income families. After the recession in 2020, Australia's GDP rebounded strongly in 2021 and 2022. However, as interest rates rose and global demand softened, growth slowed to around 2% in 2023. Modest recovery is expected in 2025 as inflation stabilizes and confidence improves. This pattern shows that Australia avoided a deep downturn but has struggled to sustain momentum amid tight monetary conditions. Inflation peaked at 7.8% in late 2022, driven mainly by higher energy prices, supply shortages, and housing costs. Although it gradually declined to around 3 to 4% by 2025, it remained above the Reserve Bank of Australia target range of 2 to 3%. The sharp increase in living costs eroded purchasing power and caused real wages to fall, leaving many households worse off even as employment remained strong. Australia's labour market initially performed well. Unemployment reached 3.5% in 2022, the lowest in decades, reflecting robust post-pandemic recovery. However, as the RBA tightened policy and borrowing costs increased, unemployment edged up to around 4.2% by 2024 to 2025. Underemployment and job insecurity, particularly in service sectors, remain concerns. Around 12% of Australians continue to live below the poverty line, and income inequality has widened. Renters and young families are among the most affected, with housing costs rising faster than the income. While temporary government assistance helped low-income groups, these measures were not enough to address the structural inequality or cost of housing issues. The aggregate demand, aggregate supply model helps explain these dynamics. Global supply disruptions and energy prices spikes shifted short-run aggregate supply to the left, a cost push shock. At the same time, post-COVID recovery and stimulus boosted aggregate demand to the right. The result was higher prices and only modest gain in output, a classic trade-off between inflation and growth. Fiscal policy played a key role in stabilizing the economy. Programs such as JobKeeper, business subsidies, and energy bill relief supported households and employment. These measures shifted aggregate demand to the right, helping to maintain output and jobs, but also adding short-term inflationary pressure. By 2024, policy shifted toward fiscal discipline and targeted relief to address debt and sustainability concerns. The Reserve Bank of Australia initially cut the cash rate to 0.1% in 2021 to stimulate the economy. As inflation accelerated, the RBA raised rates aggressively to about 4.35% by 2024. The goal was to anchor inflation expectations and cool the aggregate demand. While this policy helped slow price growth, it also increased mortgage and rent stress, highlighting the distributional cost of monetary tightening. Overall, fiscal and monetary policies were partially successful. Fiscal support prevented economic collapse and maintained employment. Monetary tightening gradually reduced inflation, but its impact was uneven across households. The experience shows that coordinated, data-driven policy is essential to sustainable prices while protecting vulnerable groups. Australia's cost of living crisis peaked in 2022 and has since eased, but the legacy of high prices and inequality remains. Sustainable solutions require a balanced mix of targeted fiscal support, credible monetary policy, and a structural reform in housing supply, energy transition, and productivity. These efforts will help achieve stable disinflation and inclusive economic growth. Thank you very much.